Hi, this is a tutorial on Yeti, and I'm going to use Maya and V-Ray, and I'm going to show you how to set up a decent looking hair or fur system thing. And just to start out, I'll show you something that I did with Yeti. It's a really nice plugin. Basically, I did a bear where I simulated the fur, and I have some clumping. Fur gets sort of wet and dirty towards the ground. There's a lot of cool things you can do with Yeti, and I'm going to show you just the basics so you can make a still image like this. I'm not going to get into simulation in this tutorial. Great. So I'm going to give this monk some hair on his head. So select the mesh and go to your Yeti tab and create Yeti node on mesh. Now that gives us a Yeti node. We'll just rename it to my fur. There we go. Now in the attribute editor you can find different drop-down menus like the graph editor, which is the core of Yeti. So we're going to import the geometry like that, and we're going to use a scatter node. And if you click the little square box inside the box next to the other box, it's Inception, you get you display and activate that node. Also create a grow node, double click on it, and you can see different attributes. You can double click on all the nodes. Alright, so now he's very hairy. So we want to control this with the groom node. I'll just rename this my groom. And in the attribute editor we have the different options out here. A lot of things, including simulation. And we're just gonna go ahead and paint some strands here. It's the influence area. So you click the plus and to the right, and you just paint where you want it to be. And you can activate mirroring if you want. This is not a symmetrical model, so I'm not gonna do that. And yeah, it's just placing them out where you want them, roughly, in the start. And you can remove with the minus, obviously, and there's different tools as well. The comb underneath the plus is controlling the direction of the strands, and the lift, funny enough, lifts the fur or the hair. You don't want the hair to be completely flat because it will line up with the mesh and you'll get some weird looking results. Click your fur, Yeti fur node, and go to your input grooms and import your groom. Now, if we go back to the graph editor, we can just do this again. Import our groom and connect that to the second input of the grow node, like so. Now, if we go back to our groom, we can tweak the radius of influence, like so. And we can see how the fur node actually follows the groom somewhat. If we go down, we have a length attribute. If you double click this, you can tweak the length, increase or decrease, or smooth it out. So value. Now I'll go in and use the comb to decide upon a direction. This is a punk monk. whatever that is. So this step is just taking your time, making it look decent, and obviously rendering it out now and then to see what it looks like. So now we go into our graph editor again, because we want the actual fur node to follow the groom. So I'll create a comb node, and I'll connect the groom to the comb, and it follows. Beautiful. Right, so next step is I think we should test how it actually looks. So I'll just do a quick render. Now as you can see, it's very thin hair. It's super 1 pixel thickness. It's going to be pretty heavy if you're going to have that cover everything. So a way to cheat this, or a way to get some width into it, is to use the width node. So use the width node to give it some mass, some volume. The standard settings are pretty good, but depending on how close up you are to your mesh, I mean, with the bear I did, it was pretty, I could get away with a pretty high number because it was fairly far away in the screen, and so I needed to cover up the mesh in a decent way. You can do that with a texture, have a darker texture underneath your fur to make it seem less like there's holes in it. But it's something you need to play around with. Also, I created a V-Ray hair shader with a standard blonde setup because it's against a black background. And I'm just going to assign that to the fur node, and it will follow the texture map of your mesh. It's pretty smart. Also, if you have a texture file, say you want your hair to have different colors all around, you can use this this node here, which is a V-Ray hair sample, and you just plug that into the default color. But I don't have any texture for this. A different thing you can do also, if you want to go all out, you can make this a ramp, and you can plug that into the transparency. And what that does is it gives you sort of transparent tips on your hair. You know, as hair is very thin, light will go through it. So instead of using a subsurface node on the hair, which is insane, you can go the easy way and just make it go transparent as it you know, leaves the head. Or you can have more values. What this does though is it increases your render time significantly. So you need to think about whether or not it's really necessary. It does make a little difference, but you know, for the most part, it's not really that important. Okay. Now, it's getting there. It's definitely very evident that, you know, it's some clumps protruding from the points that we put down. Now, you can deactivate the You can deactivate the populate at mesh points function, and you should be able to place strands wherever you want on the mesh, regardless of the topology, which is super nice. So I'm just gonna fill out the spots that I see is well, see-through, because we don't want to see the bald head underneath. And you just have to sort of shuffle it. Problem is with this render that it's very you can see it's very rounded. It's a perfect shape, and that's not something you see on, well, in reality. So you need to, one way is to go in and tweak the individual hair strands to sort of be different. And you can go into component mode and tweak the vertices if you want to be very specific about it. Like so. But if you have a life, you're not going to do that. You're going to find some other solution. Or you can just make your groom more advanced. Add more strands of influence strands on your groom. It's basically a lot of hard work to just make it look natural. So you want to make it look more random than this. You can see we're getting there with the lower left corner here, but the rest is very artificial to look at. So that's something you want to work on. But like I said, that's just hard work to make it look really good. So that's my tutorial in basically setting up a simple hair, and the rest from here is just tweaking. So have fun.